Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of our videos. So here we have game number 2 against the Rock 619. Again, a very interesting game, very complicated game. Just to sort of let you know the stakes, so I've now, in this particular competition, now lost 2 games. So essentially, I have to win pretty much all my games just to have any chance of qualifying. Unfortunately, my opponents had won all of his games, so this was going to be a particularly difficult task. Even if I win this game, if he manages to win the rest of his games, he would then be the one qualifying. So the stakes were pretty high in this particular one, and it led to a very interesting conclusion, a very fun conclusion to a very difficult round. So I was playing the black side. D4 was played, so I put my knight to F3. E3, bit of an odd move, but it's probably likely that my opponent's going to try and enter into a collie system. So I play D5 here, knight to F3, so we've now entered a collie, and I decided to put just an immediate stop to this plan. So this is known as the anti-collie system. So the point is, if D3 is played, you can exchange off. It kind of defangs the opening a little bit from white. You've traded off white's really good light square bishop, which is often a really strong piece in the collie system. And yeah, as I say, you kind of defang the entire opening, but it's by no means a bad variation. It's just black is pretty much equal here. So in any case, going back, instead bishop e2 was played, e6, castles, I put c5, c4 was played, knight to c6, and we enter into what kind of looks like a Tarrasch with this isolated queen's pawn. A little bit of an odd setup, but I'm quite content with this position. I've got nice activity for the isolated pawn. Knight to g5. So this was the first kind of odd move of the game. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. So white is just simply opted to decentralize his knight, and he goes a kind of a bit of an odd folly against my king's position. But I decided to castle. I'm not afraid of any ghosts, so I decided to go straight for that. And knight to c3, and here I played d4. So I decided to get rid of my isolated pawn and break into the centre. Another move that I think actually I could have played, and I think it's probably arguably a bit safer, is the move h6. And I know it's kind of, I guess, not a great looking move in the sense that now the knights can just come back to here, but as we'll see later, this h6 move, often in these sort of structures, you want to be playing it because white ends up getting a nice attack along here, which justifies this knight on the square. So let's go back just 1 second. So we go d4 instead. Okay, we exchange off the isolated pawn, which was nice for me. And now the bishop comes to d3 here. And here I should have just captured. I think this would have been absolutely fine. But I made a bit of a blunder in this position. Bishop to g4. I was decided to try and go after this this queen. The problem is the h7 square is now under attack, and this knight move, it really annoys me, but this knight move is now a really good move now. I've justified my opponent's weird, inaccurate moves. But anyway, bishop takes here, so not a great position now. So I've got to make a decision as to where I put my king. So put it to h8. If you're wondering, I also calculated this move as well. This is actually even worse for me, and I can see the ensuing continuation. The problem here is after knight captures, queen captures. White is up a clear pawn. He's got options to start swapping down, and he's up a pawn. So that's pretty good for white. So going back, so h8 I played. So I'm still interestingly, when I look at this position on the engine, it's shown up as equal. And I guess it all comes down to the fact that my pieces are still very active here. This bishop still needs to get into play. These rooks aren't connected yet. So it's still okay for me here. Anyway, queen came to d3, queen to d7, and then he started to try and kick my bishop away. I decided to move my bishop back. Bishop to e4 was played, which was very happy to see. Put my rook onto f8, but potentially actually probably better would have maybe been to either start maybe just looking at some swapsies. But here I just decided to play this, and after g4 was played, I then started the long ordeal of swapping off, and this is quite nice for me. I've now created this nasty pin on this queen. The problem is knight takes c5 can be played here. The point being that if I capture this, he captures my queen back. It's not a particularly great variation to go into. Although, interestingly enough, it does actually say that I should actually still hold a slight edge in this position. So we'll just have a quick look at this line. I'm not sure myself. I guess, okay, this is okay then. Interesting. But in any case, I didn't like this complication. I don't think I need to do it. I don't understand. Well, I suppose. Oh, I see. Because that would then attack the attack that. So that's interesting. So you've got this fork here, haven't you? It's very nice. Very nice fork. Position looks like it's equal according to the engine, but I didn't like that ensuing conversation. Instead, I actually found the best move here, a very tricky move to find. And that was queen to d5. So I'm now hitting this knight. I'm hitting this knight. Everything is defended just about. Although, everything's just hanging in this position. So now here my opponent played a mistake now. He played queen to d8, which, okay, it kind of gets him out of harm's way for the time being. But the move I missed, and it was actually I should have been able to see it. Was this very powerful? Instead of queen captures, which is what I played. Knight to e2, a very powerful move. And there's not much that white can do here. He has to maybe move his king to h2, which is the only square it can go to. If he decides to capture here, obviously the rook captures back, so that's no good for him. But it's a forcing move. He has to do something about it. Oops, sorry, I've gone a bit too far here. So he has to do something about it. There's a check. So king to h2 can be played. I can then take the knight. And okay, I'm down a pawn here, but white's king is really in danger here. So it's something that I could have played. I can now start thinking about getting this other rook into play. It's a very difficult position for white to continue in. Just an example of, let's say, queen to e1, which, okay, it attacks the knight, but you walk into a pin, basically, or almost a discovered attack, I should say. Something like f6, now hitting the knight, bishop to e3. It's a very complicated position. Something like this looks pretty good for me, though. I can now start swapping off. This swap comes with a tempo gain as well. Everything just about falls into place for me. So, I'm left in this position where, okay, if I was white, I wouldn't mind actually still playing on here, but I'm up 2 pawns. Okay, I've got these horrible double pawns, but this is a very this should be a comfortable win for black, hopefully. Although, white's got some drawing chances here as well. But anyway, going back, so that wasn't played. So in the actual game, I took here, oops, no, I didn't play that actually. I didn't play the knight move. So instead here, I captured this knight. So I missed that opportunity. And bishop to e3 is played, and now the knight is really hanging by a thread. So I put my rook onto d8 just to hold it, and rook to e1. And here, tactics again, so important. But this particular one's really difficult to find. I don't think many people would be able, maybe Super Grandmasters, maybe, but very difficult tactic that I missed here. That's very hard to spot. But in this position, I could have played rook takes here. A very powerful move, because after f takes e3, an exchange sacrifice, the move c6. And you'll notice that the knight is now defending the rook, which is attacking the queen. But not only that, the queen has no way to defend this knight. So the knight then falls, right? So after a move like knight takes on f7, which you kind of have to play here, because you need to give, you need to try and get some material back for the knight. So a bit of a desperado move. Bishop takes, queen to e2. Again, we're down a pawn in this position, but white's still got a terrible king position. So this would have been, again, a very interesting playable position that I could have gone for. I got ideas. I don't know, maybe just start maneuvering this, or I don't know, moving a knight into there or something. Anything like that would have been pretty good. Okay, so going back to the actual game. So there was the obvious blunder here, sadly. And then the queen took. I took over here. I guess this exchange, it just allowed me to get some, maybe a playable end game here. So after, oops, we've skipped too far ahead again. Sorry about that. I keep pushing the wrong button. So I then took here with check, rook took back, rook to e8, king to h7. So I ended up in a position where I'm down a pawn, but we've got opposite colour bishops ending. So it's very much holdable. I could still get a draw here. I could still hold to a draw. Rook to e7 was played. So now hitting this pawn, and I throw in the check. King comes to g2, which I was happy to see, because after rook to b1, I was trying to tempt white taking this pawn. And the reason why, and he actually does do it, I've got this lovely fork. Oh, so lucky. So lucky. So now I've got just a winning position. I'm up 3 points of material. So I then decided, started to get these pawns off. Bishop came back to e3. I decided, okay, do you know what? I'm going to start getting these pawns. And essentially now comes the long grind to victory. I just had to be a little bit careful, because I've only got 2 pawns left. So, white's able to maybe exchange pawns. There could be some fortress style things going on, but this is a very much winning position. The rook is too strong. And if it ever came down to a position where it is a rook and bishop versus a bishop, it's still should be a very easy position to win. Okay, so we just had a long grind for quite some time here. So I slowly get my pieces manoeuvred all the way around. I then took the last pawn here. Here in this position, I decided to finish with a bit of style. I thought this was quite nice. I thought it would be quite fun to show you. So I took here with the rook. The king took back. I then put my king to g5. I didn't want to save my bishop. After the king captures back, this is actually still a winning ending. So taking advantage of the opposition in this endgame. King comes to g3. I put my king to e4. And we've got a simple king and pawn ending here. So now regain opposition. King comes, so I go to g3. If he ever comes forward, I just push my pawn forward up the board. And in this position, my opponent resigned. I think he realised that I was probably going to win this position now. So a very, very fun game. Very all over the place. Lots of tactics. Lots of things missed by both of us. It was a shame that a simple tactic is what kind of won it in the end, sadly. But still a very fun game nonetheless. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.